Hello, welcome to Lit with Lloyd. I'm your host, Lloyd Russell, and thanks to KCAT TV for hosting us. I'm very excited today to introduce you to my guest, Eric Johnson. Eric owns the two Recycle Bookstores here in the South Bay, one in San Jose and one in Campbell. Since I worked at the one in the one in Campbell for about 15 months, and I've been tied to that store with the book club since 2014 and recommending books out in front at farmers market. I have a particular good feel for the two stores. So we're going to find out how they all came to be, and Eric's going to tell us all this stuff. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm ready to go.
All right. What was your literary background or interest before you bought the first Recycle?
Oh, that's an easy question. I got my bachelor's in English and I got my master's in English literature from San Jose State, just right down the street. I was bouncing around doing some part-time teaching at community colleges when, I happened to go into Recycle Bookstore and saw that the owners were retiring and were selling the business.
Just that easy, huh? I mean, it's all about timing.
It is all about timing. I think a lot of times opportunities just kind of fall in your path and you have to step back and question whether or not it's there for a reason.
Yeah. When you saw that the store was for sale, prior to that, had you had any thought about buying a bookstore someday?
No. No, it was just an opportunity. I'd actually already applied to San Jose State to get a master's in psychology because I was looking for a career direction. And so we were, I was kind of in limbo career-wise. And, I thought, hey, let's give this a shot.
All right. How many years ago was it that you bought San Jose?
San Jose was 1998, so we're talking about 24 years now. It's been a long time.
How did you prepare for it? Did you get training from the previous owners? How did you know what to do?
I did not know what to do. I simply did not. It was, when I looked at the store, the store stock, what I know now about bookstores, if I looked at the store stock that was in there now, I would not have bought it. I would have said, no, don't do it. But because I was completely ignorant, I did it. But thankfully, dealing just with used books, the finances are forgiving enough so that you can make a mistake here, make a mistake there, and you can still kind of scrape by. And that time gave me a window to really connect with customers, learn what they're asking for, what they're bringing in, and so it was like on the job training. The previous owners, I would say, had at that point kind of phoned it in a little bit. So I was pretty much on my own.
When did that store open?
The original store.
The original, yeah.
The original store. That was 1967.
Wow.
So it really is a San Jose institution. It's been around for, like now, over 50 years.
Same owners for the whole 31 or so years before you bought it?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, sort of. The Pat and Joan Hayes were a married couple that had owned it, and then Pat Hayes had passed previously, and then Joan Hayes had carried it on, I think, for another 5 or 6 years before she sold it.
Wow. When you took over, did you basically make any changes to the store in terms of the inventory? Because, what I've learned at Recycle is that Recycle indicates used books, and there's certainly most used books, but you guys also buy new books for the ones that are going to be popular coming out.
Right, but that took a lot longer before we got into new books. It was strictly used for many years before we actually had enough money, because new books are super expensive, to actually invest in that that aspect of the business. So in the beginning of the store, it was a matter of finding quality used books, going out to estate sales, just rigorously, as you got better books in there, getting rid of the older, worse books, and you just slowly you transform the store book by book.
When you started, was the bookstore already buying books from customers at given times of the week?
Oh yeah, that's the standard used book model.
Okay.
And that's the life's blood, and that's really the real essence of the business, or the used book side, is that you have that direct relationship with the book readers, with your customers, with your community.
Wow. Has the store in San Jose always been in the same location?
No, when we bought the store, it was located on Santa Clara Street in downtown, and then we had to scramble to find a new location because the people, the rent was way too expensive in downtown, and then we found this one place, and ended up to be the best thing we could do, because downtown is great, but when you have a used bookstore, your life's blood is people bringing you books, and it was downtown. You'd have to park and drag these books, but where we're at now in San Jose, off the Alameda, it's so easy for people to access.
And when did you move the store?
I moved the store in 1998.
Okay, so basically just right after you had purchased it.
Yeah, right after we had purchased it. So not only did I have no idea what I was doing, I was also moving the store from its initial location into a new. So I had some various angels looking out for me. I don't know what, but
did you when you bought it? Did you know that you were going to move it?
Yes. Yeah. It was all kind of part. Do I want to buy this? But then, we were kind of negotiating a lease at the same time. But if we couldn't get a lease, we weren't going to purchase the book or the bookstore. I'll have to say, because we didn't have any experience, it all happened also because of downtown San Jose. I'm trying to remember what the department is of business development. Something they coordinated with another bank to carry half of the loan for the bookstore. So if I defaulted, then the city would back it. But the city really wanted the bookstore to stay in San Jose proper. So they kind of coordinated everything to help with the financials of that.
Are there any other independent bookstores in San Jose? I can't think of any.
No. I mean, I can't really think.
I know there's a Barnes and Noble on Stevens Creek, yeah.
Right.
But really nothing else, huh?
Yeah, it really is quite shocking.
Wow.
That, well, I mean, if you're an independent new bookstore, I mean, the margins are so thin and things are so expensive in this area, it's incredibly hard to make it. And then used books, you have to have a real particular talent and energy to make it work.
When you took over San Jose, did you inherit some employees, or did you have to basically get all new employees? I inherited 2 employees, if I remember correctly. One that didn't hung on for maybe a year as we kind of transitioned, because I was working at the Mercury News still, and so that person was working during the day. I was coming in at night. I was working both jobs, and then somebody else left, and then I hired someone named Dean Carrico. I have to give a shout out to him because he's like the seminal first employee, and he was amazing. I mean, being able to redo sections, shelf incredibly quickly, to help kind of transform the store, which takes just an amazing amount of energy and work, and he really helped with that. Is he still there?
No, he ended up moving to Hawaii. So.
Oh, that's legitimate reason for quitting.
Yeah. And he's a bartender now, and he's making a lot of money, as one would in Hawaii.
What did you do at the Mercury News?
Mostly did calendar listings for the Eye, so like any events coming up, both literary and music-wise. I would just make sure all those listings got into the paper.
And how long did you work there after you bought the store, before you left?
I'm going to take a guess here. Probably 6 years. And, I started, and then it was really convenient because I was full time, and then a part-time job opened up, so I had to spend more time at the store. And then when I was ready to let go and quit altogether, then I was able to do that.
I have to say that I have been in the San Jose store twice.
Okay.
One time, my wife and I just kind of went in there. We were already customers of Campbell. And the second time, I was working for Recycle, and I was asked to take something over to the San Jose store. I don't remember what it was. And that's it. I mean, that's kind of a funny thing.
It's a different world, isn't it?
It's so different from the Campbell store. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It has such a different feel to it.
Yeah.
I would imagine, without, of course, having any empirical evidence, that people really prefer one over the other, rather than say, hey, they're both fine, they're both great, but maybe I could be wrong on that.
Oh, I've had people say just like, oh, I love the store so much better than the Campbell store. And then I've seen people come into the San Jose store and say, this is way too overwhelming. I like the Campbell store better. So it really is, two different audiences. And some people, a lot of people do both. But,
Yeah.
But they are really different stores.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the Campbell store.
Okay.
How did the opportunity present itself for you to open a second store, and why Campbell?
Well, we were getting a lot of great books in San Jose. It was doing fairly well financially. The basics, especially with used books, it was, fairly easy. So if I can get somebody who, was fairly responsible and knew books, I knew, you could at least get started. And first off, we found that person in Stacy Carlin, who, was previously worked for a couple of bookstores and had a lot of experience. And she's no nonsense, and she really knows her stuff. And so I knew I could trust her with running that store. And so we started off with a small location in Campbell. And I chose Campbell because I was looking for a space that was connected to the community, that was, accessible to the public, not in a strip mall or a little far away, because bookstores people do look at your bookstores as an intrinsic part of their community, and downtown Campbell was that to Campbell. So I thought that it was a good fit.
But if I'm not mistaken, you ended up with the Campbell store in one location, and then you moved it. Is that right or not?
Yes, we while we were doing well financially, we weren't doing, we didn't have a lot of cash on hand. So we started off with a modest location. I forgot what the address was, but it was like 1,400 square feet.
Okay.
And so we thought we could just start small, see how it goes, and then just like when we walked into Recycle Bookstore those many years ago and found that opportunity, the location that presently on First Street opened up, and it was an opportunity because we thought we could grow, and it exploded from there.
Yeah. When did you open the first Campbell store, and when did you move it?
Oh gosh, somebody was just asking me the date this other day.
Just approximate.
Approximately 2008.
Okay, so
and then I think we had maybe 6 years, maybe 4-year lease at the smaller location before we moved. So we're talking about 2012, I think,
when you got that second one.
When we got the
I think I probably started connecting with the Campbell store maybe shortly after you opened it, because I don't remember the first store in Campbell.
Okay. Well, it was amazing to me when we moved from one location to the next, which is right down the street. People would come into the store because it's right on the corner and say, "Oh, I didn't know there was a bookstore here." I'm like, "We're just right down the street for 4 years." But it's just amazing how like a visible location makes a difference.
Yeah, It's an amazing location. I want to talk about Stacy a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Thank you.
Excellent.
thank you to the City of Montessorino for their continued support of KCAT Public Media. The City of Montessorino has enabled KCAT to inspire, educate, entertain, and inform our community through the magic of television and digital media for over 38 years. Thank you.
And welcome back. We are talking with Eric Johnson, owner of the 2 Recycle Bookstores in the San Jose and Campbell locations. So when you opened the first Recycle, which you said was like 2008, and you got Stacy right away. I mentioned to you before that we have never met prior to right now.
Okay.
And I think part of the reason for that is that she feels like she feels like an owner. She acts like an owner. I mean, you can tell how much pride she has in what she does and how she oversees everything. She was certainly very patient with me, even for the entire 15 months, were things that I somehow couldn't figure out how to do after 15 months. But I think she's just an amazing asset for the store. I guess you probably know that.
Yes. Yes, I do. I mean, just part of that ownership is just letting people explore their own potentials. If you try to direct too much, then you just end up kind of, slowing down someone's progress and how they're connected to a store. I'm a great believer in letting things organically grow, and then seeing where they go. And not that I didn't have direction. We talked many a times about the direction of the store and where we want to go. But for the most part, that type of ownership, leads to success. When they feel like they have something personally invested in it. She ran with it, and the culmination, of course, being that we got best business in Campbell from the Chamber of Commerce recently, which was a great honor.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, because was I still working for the store at the time? I can't remember, but are there different levels of best business for the city of Campbell, or is there only one best business for the entire city?
There's only one per year. I think this is the first year that they decided to have 3 nominations and then choose one at the ceremony. So,
wow.
So we were at the ceremony not knowing whether or not we were going to win, and just noshing on food and listening to various sundry city people talk about events, and then eventually they named it, and I was quite surprised.
Was it ever nominated? Or I guess it was never. There were never nominations before. It was just a selection, right? This was the first time they picked multiples to choose from.
Right.
Did you ever feel in any of the other years that you might have a chance to be selected?
Wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Although we're very connected to the community, we're very kind of focused in our little tiny world, and so. We try to help out with events as much as we can, but we're not exactly, doing a lot of nonprofit events. So, I really didn't expect that type of recognition. But I think during COVID, and when the community was really hurting for places to go, places to be, some places of comfort and kind of stability. The bookstore being there, even when we were just doing pickups with books, I think that turned some people's heads. How important the bookstore was to the community.
Yeah. I'm in there all the time. Even when I wasn't working there, there's always so many people in there. Everybody loves it. How did you cope during COVID? And because I was working there for a good part of that. So I know that initially I think there were 6 people that could be in the store at one time, and then it was up, and then it was, How did you deal with it? Were you ever worried that you'd have to close one or both stores?
I was not, only because it just wasn't an option. It really wasn't. It could have been dangerous without the PPE loans. I got some other loans and some helps and some
Good.
grants that helped us get through it.
Yeah.
But to me, the bookstores, having grown them from the beginnings, were too important. There was always a possibility something would go awry, but I felt like between the finances and that when we came out of COVID, that we would be fine if we could just get there. So it was stressful, and it took a delayed my retirement by a few years, but we were able to cobble together the money to get through the tough times, and when we came out, we were actually had our best year ever.
Wow. Oh, that's fun. That's really great.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking about retiring soon, are you?
Oh, my initial plan is like 5 years. Again, talking about growing the business and everything, it's physically taxing. The years of pretty much working 50, 60-hour weeks.
Yep.
And dealing with used books and getting estate sales, it's very physical.
Yeah.
So there may be a time when I have to try to pass this on to other people.
Wow. I know that there's been a lot of employee turnover in Campbell, not as far as I can tell from any dissatisfaction from anybody, but longtime employee Lauren took a different job and moved.
Mm-hmm.
Paul was there for a ton of time and he's moved. But it always seems like Stacy just ends up replacing them and doesn't skip or miss a beat.
Well, when you're a manager or an owner, you have to be unflappable. You have to just take a deep breath, and things can be falling apart, but as long as you just hold steady, eventually the show will go on. And we're fortunate in the sense that it's a bookstore. A lot of people do want to work at a bookstore.
Yes.
So usually we get enough people interested. But COVID has been hard. People have changing priorities. It was really confusing coming out of COVID. So a lot of people are just like, what am I going to do? Oh, bookstore, that's good. Oh, wait, no, I want to do this now. And so, it was not a problem we had before.
Yeah.
And Lauren left because as good as the bookstores are, there's only so much career-wise,
Yep.
We can offer. And so, sometimes, we encourage and we adjust schedules. We're as flexible as we can be to help people get to, the next stage of whatever their career is looking at.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, has been there quite a while and she does a great job too.
Yeah.
One more question about the award.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, what are the benefits of it besides the obvious? I mean, has business picked up since then? I mean, is there any kind of plaque or monetary award? How does that work?
No, there's no monetary reward. And usually you're getting this business because people know about you. So it's not, you might get a little extra word out there, but pretty much, it's just really the satisfaction that the community recognizes you as an important part of who they are, and they're an important part of who we are, and just kind of like recognizing that connection exists on a very important level is deeply satisfying.
The location is basically literally halfway in that downtown set of blocks.
Right.
It's I was out there Sunday morning. I hadn't done any book recommending in a long time. And for those that don't know, the farmers market in Campbell is outstanding.
Yes.
And so busy with both, vendors as well as customers. There's just so much action. I mean, people are just coming in and out of the bookstore. My personal favorite is when I'm outside is watching kids, little kids especially, dragging their parents in, or crying because it's not open yet. I mean, it's just like it's an oasis. It really is.
Well, goodness, especially for children. I mean, talk about the satisfaction of owning bookstores. Just seeing kids, children, young adults get so excited about whatever next book they're going to read, what world they're going to explore, and that type of feeling is irreplaceable. You're completely right. I mean, just seeing the kids and the families go into the store is magical.
Yeah, it really is. The only downside to the children's section in Campbell is that I never could figure out where any of the books went. So when I was shelving, I was always hoping for, fiction in the back wall, or the science fiction I could find, the mystery I could find. There are so many children's books of all different ages. It's a fantastic selection, and it really it's from preschool, it's from infant to young adults. It's an amazing section.
You're not the only one who has been stopped cold in the kids area going, how do I make sense of this? That one takes some experience.
Yes. All right. I want to talk about the current state of the independent bookstore. I know that ebooks sort of went a little bit flat, I believe, in the last couple of years, when it was always on such a big incline. I would imagine that audiobooks are more popular now than they've been in the past. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I mean, Audible is a huge part of people's lives, especially since they're working out or doing other things, and they can listen to a book while they're doing that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are moving towards that.
How do you see the current state of the independent bookstore? Do you see that it's going to continue to flourish? Is it going to get stronger? Is it going to get weaker? What do you think?
I think it's going to get stronger, and it has been getting stronger in the last 5 years. COVID, put a wrinkle in everything.
Of course.
But before that, independent bookstores were starting to make quite a comeback as people were realizing how important those stores are to their community, how important it was to actually spend money at the independent bookstores. And you would think that with the younger generation that you're going to have attrition where slowly there won't be anybody who's actually reading physical books, but it's actually quite the opposite. The people coming in from ages 16 to 30 really are longing or going back to the physical sensation of reading a book.
Oh wow!
They love that experience, and I think it's almost a backlash to almost all of their experiences being digital. And so having the physical book really is increasingly more important to the younger generation.
That's really interesting. And do you think it's because of all the digital that they want to have a little bit of a sensory experience?
Oh yes. I think that's definitely it. I think it's not only just a backlash. I think it's just natural for human beings who are physical to have experiences in a physical space. And you'd think, books are intellectual, but no. There's also a physical sensory experience to it, and I know when I read, if I'm reading something on my phone or I can't read a book on my phone because something about that experience, once I've read a paragraph or a page or two, it's gone. It's gone into the digital sphere, and somehow it lacks solidity. When I'm holding a physical book, it's like I'm holding the entirety of the story, even if I'm just on one page.
Wow. Well, I think another part of that is that I've talked to people about is that sometimes they want to flip back and refer to something or check on something that happened earlier to make more sense of where they are now. I'm with you. I read the physical book whenever possible. Having written a blog since 2011, and because with the book club that started in September of 2014 at Campbell, at the Campbell store, prior to the pandemic, the author always came to the store. So one of the benefits of having a print book was that at the end of our meeting, the author would sign the books.
Right.
That's obviously not happening now. We went to Zoom, and we're probably going to stay on Zoom because we have a lot of members that are out of the state, actually. But the only time that I'll read a digital book is if I get an ARC from, advanced reading copy from an author that has asked me to read it. But otherwise, I want the print book in my hand, and you can see that we've got some books here that that feel and look like real books. So not fakes. I actually have a signed original copy of The Source by James Michener.
Oh,
yep. That he actually signed. That he signed it for someone that an author gave to me, and also one by Herman Wouk, Winds of War. So I cherish those. It's
what's
wonderful.
fun. What's fun about that is also the book also has a history. It's had previous owners that have also been read, and so it's almost like transmitting information from generation to generation.
Yeah, I guess that's true of anytime you buy a used book, really. But I have to say, I never thought of it. When I buy a used book, which I buy many of at Campbell, I don't think about who had it before me. And I guess that's kind of an interesting thing. I think I'm not deep enough to think that way. But that's now I'll start thinking about it until I forget. All right, let me ask you about the national scene. Two things. First, it's about 15 to 20 years ago, Ann Patchett, who's a very well-known author, bought a used bookstore in Memphis or Nashville, and with a partner, and I feel like I've read that that's kind of like where the used bookstores started to, or bookstores in general started to pick up again. Is there any truth to that, or am I just making it up?
Well, that was a signal. I remember reading about her starting that bookstore, and I would like to say, I actually read and keep up with, the state of the book business and whatnot, but really, I'm just really super focused on what's in front of me.
Of course, of course.
But I remember that one, kind of being the start of people investing back into bookstores and kind of resurrecting a few. I remember reading, God, I forgot what the article was, how many independent bookstores had closed and how many had opened, but it was definitely on the uprise when Ann Patchett started her bookstore. Yeah,
I said used, but I think she bought it
new.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you get involved in any regional or national conferences for bookstore owners?
That I do not.
Are there such things?
There are conferences for rare and antiquarian books. I don't think there's one for just like general use.
No.
But rare and antiquarian books. But obviously ones for independent new bookstores that you can attend all the time. But I've been, again,
too
focused on what's right in front of me, which is what I usually do, and so I've never attended one.
Okay. What sources do you use to pick all the new books that you guys bring in? We essentially. And that's something we really need to improve on. We don't really have a system. It's really a hodgepodge of experience. We know this is selling, this is selling, this is stop selling. We talk to each other, and that's sort of how when I mentioned that. I love the way the bookstores grow organically, how I kind of let things go a little bit, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But we just communicate back and forth. Hey, did you hear about this series? Oh yeah. Well, I've had somebody ask about that. Let's do that. So it's sort of like more like a dialogue. I would like to say I have a list of targeted audiences and genres that we definitely want to hit, but essentially we just kind of
we do it on the fly.
Well, but it's not really on the fly because you know the industry so well and you know the authors so well.
Well, right. Well, God, what is the phrase I always use? I want to say institutional memory, which is super important. The fact that we retain Stacy for so long and other employees for so long, when we do lose an employee who's been there for a long time, like Lauren, it's a huge loss because, that's how we run is institutional memory. And then we got to hire somebody, who says, oh, I'll work here 3 months and then we'll know what's going on. Just like, no, you need to be a good year before you really start to begin to accumulate the knowledge that you need to function really well.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you can always get employees because people love to work in bookstores. Mm-hmm. One of your best employees in Campbell is Arista, whose father owns a store in downtown Los Gatos, and she basically asked him if she could quit there and come to Recycle because she's always wanted to work in a bookstore.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Yes. Not surprising.
And she loves it, and she's such an advocate because when she and I worked together, we would actually compete as to who could make the most recommendations to people in the store who bought the books.
Okay.
So that was one of my favorite things about working with her there. I guess it's not too late to look at a third bookstore. Is there?
Oh, it is. No, I'm running on fumes.
Okay.
There are areas that need them. Downtown Santa Cruz needs one. Logos was a long-time bookstore there for years upon years. And although the new bookstore down there does some new used books, but not too much. But that was a big loss for Santa Cruz.
I did not know that. When did they close?
Oh, I think that was like 5-6 years ago. And for a hot minute, I was thinking that would be a good place to expand into, but there's only kind of a limit to the reaches I can.
Plus, going over the hill, if you go at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning on a sunny day, you've increased your time by 3 or 4.
Right. So, oh man, that's one of the most irritating things my wife hates. And whenever we're traveling somewhere, I'm like, oh, that's a good place for a bookstore. Maybe I should. Then she shoots me a few daggers with her eye. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not. It's because she feels like she's a bookstore widow sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the only other thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you carry in San Jose that Campbell does not have?
San Jose has quite an eclectic collection of. History is much more robust.
Okay.
In San Jose, what else?
Do you have textbooks in San Jose? Because I know you don't have them in Campbell.
Right. No.
And audiobooks?
No, just a couple of shelves. So that's not huge. I mean, our graphic novel section is quite sizable. Our science fiction section, while sizable in Campbell, is much bigger in San Jose, so basically the same balance of sections, but just a lot more. One of the things we do, and I don't know if you know this, in San Jose is we sell books online through ABE Books and Amazon Books. So all the hard to find out of print stuff we catalog. So it's essentially 2 businesses in San Jose.
Wow.
So that level of difficulty is very high.
And you have a few audiobooks in San Jose?
Yeah, not many.
But none in Campbell.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, anything else to add? I think that's basically all I got.
Well, I don't know of anything off the top of my head, except just in general, how important used bookstores are to their communities, and how important it is culturally. And it's always a joy to see a bookstore whenever you're traveling anywhere, and that's the first place you gravitate to. It's the first place where a lot of people gravitate towards whenever they travel.
Yeah.
Because it's an indication of kind of the culture of the city.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Okay, well, people, make sure that you get to either of the stores. If you go into Campbell, you can say Lloyd sent you. That won't buy you anything, but you can say it if you want. And I want to thank Eric Johnson for coming on the show today, because we've never had a bookstore owner on, and personally I just learned a whole bunch of stuff about owning a bookstore.
It was a pleasure on my end as well.
So thank you very much. Okay, guys, so we're closing the book on today's podcast. I want to thank KCAT for sponsoring us, as they always do, and we'll see you next time.
You just heard Lit with Lloyd here on KCAT Radio. Explore all our KCAT original programming at kcat.org/radio.